Hey, this is Dan McDonald, and I'm the Life Regenerator here on YouTube. I have a very special episode for you today. I have no idea what we're going to do, where we're going to go, what we're going to talk about, but I think that Wade here, Wade Lightheart, and I will be able to definitely tear it up with many words and stories. I don't know that much about Wade here, but I remember years ago when I first started uh, researching some raw. I just remember you as being the kind of the fruit eating bodybuilder guy.
Yeah,
And I think I saw you in a magazine once, David Klein's magazine.
maybe. Yeah,
Right?
Yeah, I was in a bunch of them. So.
Yeah, okay. And that's all I really knew. And then I think we ran into each other at the expo.
Yes, at the Raw Living.
That's
Expo,
right. And
yeah.
then we ran into each other a couple times here in Sedona and got to talking. You're a very interesting guy. So I'm going to interview you today about vegetarian, vegan bodybuilding. Vegan?
Yeah, absolutely.
Vegan.
Yeah, so,
Totally, yeah.
Yeah.
Right on, bro. So you actually competed in some professional bodybuilding contests as a vegan, because as you know, everybody knows, you cannot be a bodybuilder and be a vegan. You
Yeah,
cannot build muscle
Yeah,
with vegan.
Yeah, this stuff. They say this doesn't happen when
Look at
you're on a
this.
plant.
Give him the guns.
Oh God.
But it can be done, and you won
Absolutely.
some contests as a vegan.
Yeah, it's. I've been very blessed and very fortunate. First and foremost, I want to be clear. I mean, I had terrible genetics for the sport. So there's some people that could do anything, and I wasn't that guy. If you saw my parents, they look like Smurfs. There's no chance. Like there was the worst sport for me to pick. So I want to be qualified. If you're skinny or you think you can't live or hard, that's not true. It means it may be a little more challenging, but you can do it. It's the first thing I want to say. The second thing was, as I grew up in an area that it was meat for breakfast, meat for dinner, if it didn't have meat, I used to make fun of vegetarians. Like that was my culture that I grew up. We lived in the woods and we hunted and we did all this stuff. Like it was really, really rural. And but I had a deep passion for the stupidest sport on the planet, and that was lifting iron in different directions. Like why? I don't know. I was so small and so scrawny. I wanted to get bigger for hockey. And years later, I went through the whole process, and I went through classic bodybuilding, with all the protein you pound every day, like hundreds of grams of protein every day, and these special diets and powders. Dude, I mean, the first time, and I want to say that there was a transition period. And so wherever a person's coming from, there's a transition period. And just so people know, I did win 13 titles, 5 different weight categories, and 3 national championships. And I think I'm the only raw food vegetarian to ever compete at the Mr. Universe and the Natural Mr. Olympia contests.
Awesome.
So there's been vegetarians, but I was the only guy that did it raw. And how that happened, but that was a journey.
What are the top 3 or 4 that some of these young men might be, or the bodybuilders that are going to be watching this? What are some of the top titles that you won?
Well, the Canadian National Bodybuilding Championship, Mr. Canada, I won that 3 times. Two as the national champion in the men's 80 kilo category, and then 1 as a junior master in one of the formulas. So those were the big titles, I guess, as they would say. That gets you to the world stage, the world dance representing your country, which is a great honor.
So it can be done. That's just so nice to reiterate that you can compete at championship levels as a raw vegan.
Yeah, no drugs.
No drugs.
No drugs.
Oh my God.
So
how did you get through life?
You do all the drugs until you realize they're not going to get anywhere, and then you figure it out. You finally get to this place, which you represent, which is about a purity, a simplicity, an essential component. When you strip away everything and there's nothing left but essence, that's the definition of perfection. Mm-hmm. And I started out looking for an external representation of perfection. I bought into the Joe Weider program. There was the guy with the muscles with the 2 beautiful girls on the beach in California. And I'm like, out of my mind with testosterone, that's what I want. The girls never did show up, but that started my journey as a young male and being insecure about my masculinity. You're a 15-year-old guy, you don't have any definition of a male, and then you have this hyper-muscular masculine male. oh, that's what a male is.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, but I didn't know any better. And it's like girls today have the same thing. They look at a picture of a model or a magazine or an airbrush, and that's femininity. And there's this endless struggle of the external aspects of it. But at some point, you got to give that
to
up.
reach actually that essence of masculinity or that essence,
Yeah,
so that you can stand in that polarity and
Yeah.
dance as who you really are. Like a woman comes into the world with a vagina, and a man comes with a penis. So
Yeah.
they're going to want to represent. I mean, that's more like nature saying
Yeah.
you are, in essence, to be embracing perhaps the masculine.
yes,
Good, cool.
exactly.
That's kind of some of the things that's been really been on my mind. So it's cool that you bring that up, because for the men to actually learn how to stand in their masculinity, it would allow their woman to actually stand in her femininity. But there's so much chaos.
Totally.
So it's interesting that the males, a lot of the males out there, unable to really stand and embrace their masculinity, would use things like putting on muscles,
Right.
but they're not. But maybe they're still not getting to that core of knowing what it's like to be a man. Actually, though, but it's interesting because that weightlifting does give you the purpose, which is the masculine.
It's part of the expression,
Right.
and I think it's I think for me, and I can only speak on my own experience. For me, the process of initiation, of self-discipline, of holding a vision, of being able to, turn down some of the externalizations to reach this goal, as maybe cosmetic as it might have appealed, for me it was a meditation. For me it was my yogic path. For me it was
Yeah,
my
me
spiritual
too, bro.
development. This is where I've got my physical, the first aspect of the yogas of the great spiritual paths are to first master the physical body first. Get that down, and from physical, to master the physical, you need to develop mental discipline. And when one develops mental discipline, spiritual awareness begins to awaken.
Mm-hmm.
And-
Amen.
And
Nice.
then once you get to the opposite, then the rest, whether they maintain or stay, is irrelevant. So, that was my path. And then for me, of course, as I think for a lot of us, well, how did I go from meat eating, redneck in the country with his pickup truck and shotgun to, vegetarian raw foodie meditating on a mountain and competing at the world championships? I'm like, what happened? And I'm going to warn people, it's called crisis. You come face to face with something that's not working. And for me, I was involved, I got involved into, the things that a lot of young men do, sex, drugs, and rock and roll kind of thing, and lived a very sideways lifestyle. And I had the good fortune of a spiritual teacher pulling me out of that and into my new path. And I read a book called The Holy Science, which was a book from an Indian guru by the name of Swami Sri Yukteswar, which was Yogananda's guru. And he wrote out this beautiful exposition of the human condition and how the digestive system worked, and the teeth and the sensory desires for vegetarian or fruitarian diet and stuff. And I was like, I couldn't find any logical argument. And keep in mind, I was a trained nutritionist, an exercise physiologist. I had all the background, I had the top coaches in the world, and I went that way. So I made an initial transition into vegetarianism that still was a lacto-vegetarian. So I would eat dairy products, and specifically I stayed on
Eggs
whey
involved.
protein was what I used.
So just dairy, no eggs.
Yeah,
That was
so
your
at that-
first thing, no flesh.
No flesh.
First step.
Yeah, so I would do a little bit of eggs, and I
The
did
dairy.
whey protein. And so when I went into contest mode, nobody had done this. So they're like, okay, well, your only source of protein is going to be whey protein, 50 grams 5 times a day. And that's what I did on my first Mr. Universe contest. So I dieted for 11 months on a completely lifeless diet. 100% lifeless.
Let me guess. One of those 50-pound bags of whey protein.
Yeah,
Like the dog bags.
I mean, I was getting a really good whey protein, what was supposed to be the premium at the time in the tubs, and I'm doing my 50 grams of protein per meal 5 times a day. I'm eating rice cakes, okay? I'm eating shredded wheat, and I got one teeny weeny salad a day and some potatoes.
Okay.
That was my diet.
How was your body at that time? Was there stiffness,
Oh, dude.
pain,
Oh.
congestion?
The last 6 months towards that contest. And for my friends, if you ever get an opportunity to interview them, who were around me at that time, my
Angry.
word, people were like, Wade, how you doing? It's just another day in paradise, man. I was literally brain dead. It would take all my effort to get up out of my bed,
Yeah.
train my clients, go to the gym, do my workouts, and complete this. It was a sheer act of absolute willpower. And I lie down at night, my whole body would hurt. My joints hurt. I had no energy. And this is just accepted in the bodybuilding world.
Yep.
It's normal. And
And in not just the bodybuilding world.
yeah, a lot of life.
Now, so you're saying that now you've got a comparison here. You've got the lifeless lifestyle, and then you've got the living lifestyle. Which one's better for your brain and your cells and your joints?
Oh, there's no comparison.
Right. It's not even it. So raw foods is a really, really cool, true living cells, living life, living water, living enzymes, living electricity to bring you to life, to get you to smile, to wake up your brain. You hop out of bed in the morning and you go hiking all day, right?
Exactly. That's exactly
I
it.
just like to kind of
You're 100%
slam that
right.
stuff home. Death versus life.
and how it happened is, and when I did the universe, of course I looked great cosmetically. Outside, boom, had the appearance, the veins in the abs and the musculature and all, and I still use a lot of the pictures. It was great. But after that contest, Dan, this is what happened. I gained 42 pounds of fat and water in 11 weeks. I blew up, so I went from Mr. Universe to Mr. Marshmallow. And the funny part was, I felt better as Mr. Marshmallow than I did as, Mr. Universe
Well,
competitor.
you had the water probably
Yeah.
saturating all the
Well,
acids.
yeah, I was trying to flush the acids out of
Right.
the system. And so a lot of people look at fat gain or water retention from a caloric model, which is completely flawed. There's a toxic
Yeah.
connection, your ability to manage toxins. And if your body is putting fat on or putting water or holding it, it's responding perfectly to the internal and external conditions. You've got to take responsibility and change those, follow some of the things that you're advocating on your process of getting tuned back in and building the body from the inside out, and the body will automatically correct itself once those conditions are met. And so I had the good fortune of meeting, Dr. O'Brien. We talked a little bit about him for it, and he talked to me about acid alkaline balance. He talked to me about enzymes and probiotics, the things that you advocate. He talked to me about living foods and understanding that it had life and energy. And although I was so trained on this other world,
Right.
and it was so hard to let go of those things that I had held so dear, I couldn't.
The protein myth, for example.
Yeah, I couldn't argue. That led me off the cliff of oblivion. That belief system created an incredible amount of pain and suffering inside my life, and I had to let go of that. So I said, you know what? I'm going to try what he's doing. I'm going to integrate this into my lifestyle.
That was your first meeting with raw foods, or was it the Yucaswar book?
Well, So the Yukteswar book happened in 2001, and I made the transition. I said, I'm going to try this for 2 weeks. I went to vegetarianism, and I said, okay, felt pretty good. And I went 2 weeks, and I didn't dry up and blow away the psychological fear that I had. And then I went another month, and I said, okay, screw it. I'm not going to eat meat anymore. And I haven't since. But I still hadn't mastered the optimal performance model.
Right.
So I could be a vegetarian, but that doesn't mean anything. You can be an unhealthy vegetarian, or you can be a healthy vegetarian. Just because I'm a vegetarian doesn't mean anything. Just because I'm a meat eater doesn't mean anything.
Right.
It's how I'm integrating that into a healthy lifestyle. So then there was the chaos of 2003, and then I really embraced all the things that you advocate, that you're doing, and I really honor in what you're sharing with your clients and helping those people out in the world. And that was using enzymes and using probiotics and juicing and making these, ginormous salads that people, like, when you're in a restaurant, go, what is that, right? And you're like, it's life. And they're like, how do you have so much energy from a salad? Well, it's living, it's electrons, it's life, So I started that. Then I retired from competition, and I just started learning this. And once I had mastered it, I felt amazing. And I was able to look the way I wanted. So I had both. I had a cosmetic look, and I felt great too. And then the next thing you know, I started teaching people and wrote some books. And then 4 years later, I took everything that I learned from optimization, compressed it into a 3.5 week period, and came back and won my next 2 national championships. Went to the Worlds, placed better at the Worlds than I did the first time. I was 13th the first time, I was 5th the second time. And the best part was there was no rebound after. I felt
Right.
great all the way up. In fact, I was laughing and joking backstage with all my contestants who were following the program that I used to use. And they're all like, oh, I'm gonna die, you know. And I'm like, I'm back there high-fiving. I'm not worried about the contest. I'm having a great time. I'm helping all my friends. After the contest, we go out. It was great. There was.
Did they notice? Could they see that you were in a different
They,
zone
they
than
thought
them?
I was crazy.
Because you were happy.
I was
Well,
happy.
they
and
were
doing-
kind of heavy. It's real hard to be a bodybuilder, you know.
It's real
Exactly.
hard. That's the. I'm friends with Chris Cormier, and he's like, he just kept. That's what he kept saying. It's real hard, man. It's just hard. But I knew at the time because I was already raw. But when you eat all that heavy food, that's why I teach what I teach. I mean, just the raw living foods because you're just lighter and you need everything you can get, especially if you're like me. If you've been through all that stuff and you're still working on this stuff, you need every tool you got. It ain't
Everything.
food is just one thing. Sleep, water, meditation, yoga. I mean, you got to be working it to get where you want to go, which is really free from pain, free from heaviness,
Yes.
free from sadness and depression. I mean, if we can't even get the food thing, which most people can't, how are you going to get the heart and the mind thing? I mean, the food is the most practical, basic thing. And that's why we've got to continue to just do this and repeat kind of the same thing over and over again. Fruits, vegetables, living foods, sprouts, enzymes and stuff. It's really cool that O'Brien was Lou Corona's mentor.
Yeah.
So that's how Lou got into it. And then O'Brien, he's like an amazing dude, which I've never heard of him because Lou doesn't talk about him that much. But to hear about him from you, being 90 years old, now I know he's the guy that Lou's talking about.
Yeah.
That's the amazing, that was
Yeah.
75 when Lou met him 25 years ago.
Yeah. And he's living up in the mountain somewhere and nobody can access him anymore.
Yeah.
So maybe,
But he's still
maybe I
slamming-
shouldn't say anything about,
Oh, right.
this guy, I mean, I watched him on stage and take a bottle and he just dumped the whole bottle of enzymes. And he said, you see, when you're doing these things, you got to realize this. Your body will utilize all this. I mean, he was one of the craziest, most outrageous guys I ever been, and trained formerly as a medical doctor.
Yeah.
But then he made the switch from the westernization
From his own illness.
from his own again crisis. There's
Right.
So if you're out there and you're out there and you're going through some kind of crisis, you got attracted to Dan or you're watching this video, we want to connect with you because what this guy's doing is he's compassionately sharing his journey and what's worked for him with you to help you because there's some kind of connection.
Which
that's going on.
arose out of crisis.
Absolutely.
And which, to this very moment, as we sit, I'm watching my own self expand within the crisis zone.
Absolutely.
And it's always like that for me. That's why you have got it. You stamp me on the head. It says crazy right there. Because
I love it.
when you set it up, right, you're
Yeah.
you're very similar to me in the sense of the Hawkins. I mean, when you read the Hawkins stuff, you don't get to go back anymore.
No.
It goes in, and now you're like, you can no longer run from the internal world, which is, oh, it's outside. It's all the world's fault. It's
Yeah.
this is wrong. The world is wrong. The toxins, the bad air. And you're like, no, it's right here. I mean, this is it. You clean this up. You clean this up first because that's the easiest, practically. You're like, apple or cheeseburger? Okay, cheeseburger out, apple in. Clean it up. Then you start kind of waking up. Like, it seems like this first, wake this up. This thing kind of starts to wake up. And then you can no longer ignore this thing, which is the generator. And then you can clean off and start scraping off the layers of protection.
Yeah.
And then you can get to what really matters, which is love. Which is the only thing we're really talking about.
Totally.
Bodybuilding, love.
Love.
Raw foods, love.
Love.
Meditation, love. Relationships, spiritual work, love, love, love. Getting back to who and what we really are. And if we have to go bodybuilding route to do that, or music, or anything, it doesn't matter. We're going to want to come back to that pure love. And we've got a lot to share about that coming up in the future here, about how we're going to help people to have the courage to actually face the fear and peel away one layer of the protection mechanisms that we've set up.
Yeah, the externalization of it, and what is love? I mean, love is that little thing inside yourself that you'll follow no matter what. that you'll
No
even-
matter what.
and no matter what, and no matter what is a powerful thing, because without love, people used to say, Wade, you're so disciplined. Even when I was doing all those dysfunctional things, okay, I was disciplined to the dysfunction, and through that discipline, finally I had evidence and finally started to wake up to like, well, maybe I don't know that much. And when I started to accept that really I didn't know anything, that's when the miraculous started to happen. That's when the master appeared, because now my cup was empty. Obviously what I'm doing is not working, and taking ownership of that, but I love where I'm going, and I'm opening my cup up to the master. Please fill me up with your knowledge. And it's like putting all the good stuff in the blender, blending it up and slamming it, and then the body just takes care of the journey afterwards, right? That's what you're doing every day, right? You're just, look, put all the good stuff in there. Who knows what really is in all this stuff? Who really absolutely do? We don't know, but we do know this. We do know this is when you put it in and you feel it, you feel again. You feel yourself, and not yourself as a flesh and bone, and as miraculous as the human body is, and I've always fantasized it, there's another level beyond it. There's the essence of you.
Right.
Like, and you know, the Hawkins, how he says, well, if you cut this arm, your arm off, are you still you? Well, of course you are. If you cut your leg off, are you still you? If you cut all your arms and legs, are you still you? Well, of course you're still you. So the person that's watching this right now, the person that is aware of this thing, that you behind, the observer of everything, is where we all meet. That is the spiritual connection of all of us. And it's easier and easier to tune into that, I believe, when you are integrating these live energetic foods that it's a cellular communication that starts to happen, and maybe those plants tell our DNA stuff. And when they're in a live state, they're able to communicate. You know, living things talk better than dead things. I mean, talk to any dead thing, it doesn't say anything back. Talk to a living thing, it does. The leaves rustle in the trees, right? The ocean turns over. The things are alive, and we can feel it. And that's when and love is oftentimes when we feel the most alive.
Mm-hmm.
What makes you feel the most juicy, sexy, energized, fantastically, stay up late, get up early, suffer pain, suffer financial meltdown, suffer relationship breakdown, go whatever, because there's something inside yourself that says, I am.
Oh, that's a beautiful way to end that video.
Is it over?
I don't know, how much time?
We got a couple more minutes, but we're definitely on a roll here.
I love
I
that.
like the part about the emptying your cup. Not enough of us do that. You can't put, if the blender's full of yesterday's moldy smoothie, you can't take the new fresh raw food and put it in there. So you got to clean that out, dump that out, clean that blender, get it empty, then you can refill it with the fresh. But we've got to go through those periods of emptying. That's one of the reasons why I like fasting, or even meditation, or even just exercise, or some type of practice. But really it's a choice. That which I went to the river to practice today was just to sort of empty my mind and stop talking and stop thinking for a little while, and I went and just laid on the ground by the river and just felt my heart. I just wanted to feel, because I'm going through a process of healing right now, which I always have been. And I like to talk about it because I don't want people to be embarrassed that they've had pain or trauma, and then they've protected themselves, because everyone does this, and they layer after layer after layer after layer, and then everyone wonders why the relationships are suffering, your career is suffering, your health is suffering, because your mechanisms of protecting yourself from it feeling pain again keep you from being able to function. So you're totally dysfunctional, and what happened to me is that my methods of escape through the awareness, through mostly the Hawkins work, like that, just you can't escape anymore. You can't use all your little tricks. You can't just jump to the next relationship. You can't just change the diet and think that, oh, okay, well, if I just change the diet and I don't have to do anything else. It's all these little escape mechanisms that you have, exit strategies from actually having to one day process the traumas so that you can actually truly be free. The Life Regenerator channel has always been about freedom. It's never been about food. It's never been about exercise, raw foods. It's been about freedom, gaining real freedom, which has always been my personal goal, you know, so that's where I'm going with that.
Love it, man.
Yeah.
I just love that.
And it isn't an easy process. So I'm just here to I'm like a cheerleader, really. And I'm like, hey, I'm more crazy than you are. And if I can do it, and I'm going to keep going, because it is the love that is strong enough. The love is strong enough to burn through the fear, you know? And yeah, when you love something enough, or in this life, you can transcend and push through. The fear is powerful enough to move you through the fears of it, you know? So you have to love your vision more than you want to run from the pain that you've buried, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah,
So
that's
that's why I say get a vision and just hold it there. Like, I wish I had more time, man. I kind of wanted to interview you, but this is what got inspired, is that, you know, this is my way of ending this video. Maybe I'll let you end. We got a couple minutes, but I just want to say that get a vision and think the vision out of love, because this happened to me yesterday on the back porch in meditation. The first 15 minutes of my meditation was doubt coming from the reptilian brain. I could feel it coming from the back of my brain, childhood stuff coming into my brain, and like, oh, it's no use, it's not going to work, just give up and quit, you know. And it was it was doubt. And then something in my brain was like, wait a minute here. And then I just shifted in the frontal lobe. And I shifted it and I said, know what? I'm just going to believe in my vision anyways. I'm just going to want what I want. Instead of I'm spiritual, I'm going to be so spiritual that I'm going to release all attachments. But it felt bad.
Right.
Let go and forget about it. It was like
Right.
this depressing doubt. And then I was like, no, I'm just going to hold this vision. I'm going to hold what I want to see. And then my body picked up and my energy picked up, and it made me want to make a video about, you know, just think positively. Keep believing in your vision. And when doubt comes in there, just you realize that you can have faith. Faith is a choice and an art that you can cultivate. And then when you have that faith in your dream, you can see that the love for your dream is more powerful than the fear. You see what I mean? And that's the only thing that's kept me going, because the fear is unpleasant, but the vision, you know that you want to arrive in that place where you are free and you are cleansed of debris, but you have to have something out there in front of you that is significant and meaningful enough to move through that pain and do the work, which is really just feeling that stuff. You can't run from it anymore, because everyone in the room knows it. You might be stoned or drunk or ate a bunch of food or in your little unconscious world, but everyone in the room feels you. And when you get to an enlightened state, you know they feel you, and you want to honor this world by actually being able to uplift. So you work on the heart, and you just have faith and love your vision for what you want to create, and then that is the love itself, which blossoms and heals. So that was my little 2 cents there. So my thing is just keep going, everyone, no matter what. I have drug addicts and depressed people and on meds, and you know, there's this, I can't really write them all back or anything like that. So I just try to make videos like this where they can get that essence of it and just believe, you know, that they can turn it around, that you can come from the lowest of the low where you've put yourself to escape all that pain. Some people never do escape. Like I kind of see my parents as well. That would be a real miracle if they ever do, because we give up and we don't want to feel it and we run from the trauma. Then we have the pharmaceutical drugs or the food, and we're never going to go down this road of raw foods, cleansing, healing, purification, and dream activation. And it's sad, but what I'm hoping is that this video touches 1 or 2 people who will actually have a desire to become fully activated and go through all the craziness that comes from setting your intentions super high.
Absolutely.
To be purified. So we're gonna have to go, but I really appreciate you taking the time. You opened me up, bro. And this is Wade Lightheart. Where can we find you, my man?
You can just go to wadelightheart.com, and that's probably the easiest way to kind of connect into my universe. And
Awesome. I would go there and see what this guy has to offer. I don't know yet, but I'm gonna find out. And we really appreciate you taking your time to share with us just love. That's all it is.
that's all it is.
Amen. Bless you and your family. We appreciate you a lot. We got about 10 seconds left, so let's just
Stare at the camera.
stare at the camera. We love you.
We love you.
Peace.